Okay, people, it is October 5th, 2017. So here what's going on now, people. It's just another crisis brewing. B-R-E-W-I-N-G. What's happening is, because, people, seriously, ever since Uncle John's been gone, this has been orchestrated in terms of I'm gonna get myself some paper, and I'm gonna make a chart, so it's in black and white, to show this how I am being gang-stalked, people. I'm a community activist. I own an international trademark name. I've been working on it on the nonprofit foundation since 2001. I've gone through the circle of politicians back in the day when, I tried to put proposals forward for the city to do fundraisers that could generate $100,000 within a year just on weekends. Of course, it was shut down because, that kind of money starts to talk, right? And, makes people think, and takes away the limelight from the local mayor and that type of thing, right? Back in those days, God forbid, local mayor didn't want the attention being taken away from her. Right? So, of course, they would shut down the proposal, right? Because, that money would have actually went back into helping the poor people out on the streets. So, besides that point, what I'm trying to say is the current crises, because it's just one crisis after another, people. And for Fraser Health Authority to sit up there and say that they didn't have a hand in any of this, that they didn't create this, when in fact I can't even go into the system and access the healthcare system with confidence, people, because I've already kind of like put links where, people go into the system and they get thrown out into the rain because they're poor or whatnot, right? Unlike Uncle John, who got medically kidnapped and locked up in a hospital setting for like 4 months before he was put in that dungeon and then just disappeared, right? So, what I'm trying to say is now, because of this two screws in the rail, right, which is like the third or fourth time since Uncle John's been gone, since these people have come to my house. And it's just a matter of time before they do it again, because, I'm like, it's their cue. It's their cue. It's designed to be this way, people. Like, I'm starting to see it like that. It's not even about the YouTube channel. No, because some of this shit's coming from around here. Like I said, I think my neighbors are paid informants. I think they're paid to cause shit. I think they're paid just to keep the file open. Right? Right. Because the more files that are open, the more the ministry, MCFD, gets in funding under a block grant, whether it's from the provincial government or whether it's from the federal government. So they have to have that staple. They have to have 10,000 children on file. And if the numbers start to drop, they have to create the numbers to go higher. I think Andre is in that category. I really do, people. I think I'm in that category. Because this is unusual. Completely. And I'm not going to put it all on YouTube. YouTube is just one method. Just like the neighbors next door is a method. Because what's happening in right now, people, because of this hiccup, I guess you want to call it, strike 3, strike 4, whatever, building that case. My rent that gets paid on the 11th of this month, usually around that time, when the money comes in for Andre, right, is nowhere to be seen, people. No paperwork has come to my house to sign it, this contract, this 2-year contract. Went to court. I told my lawyer in those days I want to take it to trial. It needs to be dealt with because it was a wrongful apprehension, an illegal apprehension. I call it illegal. The lawyer called it wrongful. And they came to me and, oh, here's this new program, take it now, and it's just a financial contract and everything will be fine. And if you don't do it, he's not coming home from foster care anytime soon because we'll be in trial. And is that really in the best interest of your grandson? Do you really want him in foster care for that long while it's in trial? What would you do, people, as a grandparent 15 months into the freaking court system? You're obviously going to want to get your grandson home, right? But little did I know that it was just a setup. It was just a setup, people. That's all it was. Because since that contract's been issued 2 years ago, they've been to my house like 3-4 times. And now I'm looking at not even paying my rent. He's not covered for dental care. He's not covered for prescription care. He's not getting any federal family allowance for, his learning disabilities or anything like that. Nothing. They want him in school so that the school system gets the money for his disability. But they're not helping the caregivers. No, if anything, they're coming in, rattling up the house, and, oh, well, 2 screws on a rail, and that's the excuse. It's an invasion of privacy, people. Those people, they stand out there with their camera and their cell phone, and they're listening all the time, anything to keep that file open. And now I'm sitting here trying to figure out a way how I can explain to my landlord that this contract that I got bamboozled with, told that if I didn't take it, I was being a bad nana because my grandson was going to be in foster care longer than he'd already been in foster care for 15 months. And therefore, if I didn't take the contract, it was my fault if he was going to stay in there longer. But I had to forfeit on the trial, people. It was like a bribe. Right? Or what do they call that? Extortion or something. It was just a setup. Because now I'm like, fuck, I'm looking at maybe eviction again. The landlady's going to come to me and say, look, it's enough this and this and this, and now this, and now this. So I'm going to go begging to my kids. Can you give me, I need $650. They give me $800 for Andre. I give my landlady $650 every month, up to $700 every month, just to cover the rent. Because what happens is at the end of the month, all the bills come in. The hydros, the gases, the internet, my CIBC $300 and some odd credit card, right? The Royal, all of it, people. It all comes in at the end of the month. And then if I don't pay those, then I'm facing getting my hydro cut off. Or the gas cut off. CIBC Bank bugs me every month because I never do pay them in full. Right? Just so that I can, maintain on the house. But that's, it's just, I don't know, people. I don't know. This is just, I don't know. I really just don't know what kind of society we live in. This is the cost of being a community activist. This is the cost of standing up for poor people. This is the cost of standing up for vulnerable elderly people and who are being exploited through corporations to seize their assets and lock them away like they're dirty secrets. That's never going to change, people. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sugarcoat the political corruption that's going on in our society. We have 20 years of baby boomers that are going into the healthcare system with nobody to keep an eye on them, as the healthcare system is being privatized through the provincial and federal government to companies from China who have the worst human rights activities. As these properties, as these old people, listen to this, people, and understand what is going on in the province of British Columbia, Canada. These old people who own these houses, these little bungalows, the bungalows like I live in, they're getting old. They're going into the healthcare system and they're not coming out. Their houses are being seized, whether it's through the public guardian and trustee or whether it's through corrupt nurses and that type of thing. Because the banks are on board and the healthcare authorities are on board to take out of every 10,000, 1,000. You multiply that by hundreds of thousands of people, you're looking at tens of thousands of illegal seizures as these old people are being locked away, medicated, and forgotten about. Until some immigrant worker comes in and decides it's their time to die and just shuts off the IV. I seen it happen to John's wife. They just shut off the IV, and within a week, she died. And I can honestly say that because when I went to go see her in that last week, I noticed that the IV hadn't moved. The drip, the liquid in the bag, at some point within a 2 or 3 day period, it didn't move. And when we went to go see her, people, she was so damn thirsty. All she could think about was sipping on some freaking water. Because they shut off her IV and they just let her die because they needed the room, people. And when she died, they phoned up us and said, get in here and get her freaking crap out tomorrow. She died yesterday, go there tomorrow and pick up her stuff. And when we got there, it was already all packed up for her. That's how fast they freaking kicked her out of there. Her body. But she had already had arrangements to go have her body shipped off to Victoria and be buried in the ground. Right? Doctor said when she first got there, you're dying in a year from now in December. She got in there in December and she died the following year, that December. And then that fucking crazy family in Victoria, why didn't John come? It was December 22nd. Her funeral was December 22nd. Yeah, okay, as if John's going to get up on the ferry with snow and wind and all this other stuff when his brother could have came very well from wherever he lives and drove through and picked up John. Didn't want to pick up John. They expected John to get on the ferry by himself with freaking 3 feet worth of snow. It was all set up, people. Code white! That's all it was, people. And ever since then, and I'm going to get the chart and I'm going to show you how I've been gang-stalked, gaslighted, psychologically warfared against. All for standing up for Uncle John and my kids and my grandson. And now they're going after the money. Right? They called in the social workers just as the contract was coming up and needed to be renewed. As I was standing back in those days at the courthouse being told, oh no, don't worry, it's just a financial contract, everything will be fine. But they had already targeted John in those days. They knew it was just a matter of time before it was John's turn. Because that's what they're doing within the healthcare system, people. Fraser Health wants to sit up there and say, well, you know, it's not about you, it's about the patient. Well, what's going to happen when I show up at the fucking hospital and I'm the patient, people? I can't even go to the hospital as a patient. I've been blackballed within the healthcare system the minute that they took John and I stood up for him. Right? You know, I mean, how many times do you have to face losing your house for standing up for what's right? Right? If they don't get you through the city, they get you through the social workers. If they can't get you through the social workers, then they go for the money. And they hold that against you. They hold you hostage to that. And that's what they're doing. As Fraser Health in the court system is tomorrow filing a dismissal. Because it's like group hypnosis with these people with money. They are protecting their pension plans, people. They are protecting their life insurance plans. They are protecting their dental and their medical plans. But if you notice, the poor little children in this province don't have a dental plan or a medical plan. But all the unions do. As they lie to the public. Oh, take this program. It's a new and improved program. You can trust us. We're here to help you. We're a public servant. You're the public. We serve you. Yeah, okay. I don't think so, people. I don't think so. So anyway, I'm not going to rage on about this or rant on or anything, right? I'm just going to get a chart. I'm not going to do it on a wipeout board. I've got paper. and I'm just going to write it out on paper. How many times social workers have been to my house since Uncle John's gone missing? How many times the city's been to my house? I've been in this house for 7 years, people. The city came into my house. Uncle John went missing February 20th of 2015. The city showed up in April after I went to spring cleanup and came home with compost boxes and children's toys. And then they showed up at my house and they had me in the yard for a whole freaking year. I was so tired I couldn't work on Uncle John's paperwork. And then they started it up again in June. Because I went off and bought building material and had toys and that stuff in the back that was kind of scattered around because I had to build the shed for Andre. But that was the cue. As soon as I started bringing in pieces of plywood and 2x4s and that kind of crap, the city seen that and they showed up and had me out there for 45 days as the court was calling me in to deal with this lawsuit. So I couldn't do any paperwork around that, people, because the city had me in the yard. And I'm going to show you this on a chart. And just as that calms down, then the social workers show up again for the third or fourth fucking time and put the money on lockdown. Where today is the 5th, I've got 11 days to come up with $650, people, and there is no contract. They don't even know where it is right now. I phoned the main office. They don't even fucking know where it is. And if they do, they're sitting on it. Oh, maybe I'll get it tomorrow in the mail. I don't know. I know it takes time to do these things. I know it takes time to fill out the paperwork. But at the end of the day, it's not coincidental, people, that all this shit just happened at the 2-year mark with Andre's contract. No dental plan, no health care plan in terms of prescriptions. Less money than if he was with me on my welfare file and I had him registered with family allowance. I would get GST for him. I could have him listed as a disability that would increase. But no, they want him in school, so they get the disability from the provincial government through their funding block. So they can put him in a resource room. And considering what's been going on, that's a pretty scary proposal at this point in life. Because when Andre goes to school, I want him confident. I don't want him stuck in a resource room being the next generation of you-know-what. To prop up that system. This is what the BC Liberal government has done to the union sector in the province of British Columbia, Canada. The union sector never used to be like this. Never. I've mentioned this before, and I'm going to end it on this note. When I started this nonprofit, people, in part, it was because of the union. I felt proud of my province, that we were a strong province with a strong union sector, government union sector, with a strong government union sector that provided that safety net in terms of people like me coming up through the ranks with their ideas and hopes and, you know, and desires and opportunities. And that's how the foundation came into fruition, because I felt that through my brainstorming, my effort, my desire to give back to society with the strong union sector in the background, there was a high probability that it would become successful. And then not even a year, 2 years later, along came the BC Liberal government, and it's been nothing but trashed ever since. And it's still being trashed. It's still being trashed because after 17 years, I'm a pretty strong community activist in terms of advocating for those that have less. And because of that, it rocks a few boats and they don't like it. So they make it very hard for me to be taken serious. So yeah, they're going to come in with the city and make me look like an idiot. Yeah, they're going to come in with the social workers and make me look like an idiot. Yeah, they're going to cut off my money so I can't pay my rent on time, not that I pay it on time anyway anymore, so that I can look like an idiot in front of my landlord, and my landlord can get fed up so I can get kicked out, so that social workers can come back in and take my grandson after they created the fucking crises. And then say they didn't. Because they know I'm being gang stalked. They know that these phone calls coming in are inappropriate in terms of I'm being gang stalked. Duncan Clan has a lot to lose if this stuff goes through court. Fraser Health Authority has a lot to lose if this stuff goes to court. But this shit was going on long before Uncle John went missing. Because when you write a proposal for $100,000 through a legitimate 50-50 to help the poor people on the streets, and it gets shut down on a city level because the mayor herself is feeling insecure with that type of competition in terms of people might like me a little more than her. Because if I got $100,000 and I give it to the people and walk away and say, God bless you, and she's saying, no, 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 give me $100,000 and keep your ass out on the fucking streets and fuck you, who do you think after a while the people are going to navigate towards? Obviously someone like me. Because if you get your first $100,000, it just goes more and more and more and more. So anyway, I am finishing the apples juice today. I'm going to show you. I did the apple butter, last night. I have that plum still sitting in my fridge with those raspberries, so I think I'm just going to combine the two, cook them up with some sugar and make a jam. So I figure I'll do the 2 jars of apple juice that I've made in the last 2 days and finish up with the jam. And then after that, it's cook the turkey tomorrow. I've already peeled vegetables and got them ready. I just haven't cooked them yet. Got to harvest the kale and the Swiss chard in the front. Get that ready. And then cook the turkey tomorrow. And as the turkey is cooking, start cooking the vegetables. And then the following day, probably start making the turkey pot pies with some apple pies, because I'm not cooking no more apples. The apples that I have left are for apple pies. And then once that's done, there's a few other things in the garden that I have to harvest, right? Now, how I'm going to pay rent, I don't know, people. Nobody knows where the paperwork is. All for this don't worry stuff, that was a bunch of crock, right? Because, you know, they hurt you through your heart. That's what they do. They try and control you through your heart. And if it's not through your heart, it's through money. They break you through money, and they try and break you by taking your loved ones away from you. Because this is not the first time. First it was with my daughter, the way they threw her out, and then it was my grandson, and now it was and then it was my stepdad, and now they're circling around my grandson again, right? To shut me up, to shut me down, right? Because for some reason it's beneficial to pimp poverty. It's beneficial to keep people poor. It makes other people feel better about themselves when there's a whole lot of them over there that are dying on the streets. I don't know what drives people like that. I don't know. Like I said, the unions never used to be like this in British Columbia, Canada. Never. I do not. If I felt, and I've said it before, if I felt that the union in British Columbia, Canada was corrupt back in 1999, the year 2000, 2001, I would never have started a nonprofit. I would have never started a nonprofit. And now it seems like it's the unions that are destroying it. That's how I feel. Because they're so adamant to keep their superannuation life insurance policies, their dental plans, their this plan and that plan. 57% of the provincial budget has to come from somewhere, right? They got to keep themselves employed somehow, some way. They got to keep the numbers of children on those files. And the only way they can do that is to destroy the adults, right? And in Uncle John's case, they took out his mind, put in this styrofoam, and turned him into a girl, and then snuck him away and made him wait for his loving sister to come by and visit him so she can tell him, you haven't gotten better yet. So no, you still can't see the kids, even though it's going on 3 years. As Fraser Health Authority wants to sit up there and try and tell me that when I end up in the hospital, they're going to treat me fairly. And as a final note before I upload this current video, Everybody knows, people. Stress is a killer. Especially when you can't go into the healthcare system and get proper care, right? In terms of, my teeth and my eyes. That's the big one, right?